So the topic that I want to talk about today is wired for purpose, the power of being ready. And the question is, why should you care about staying ready? So, have you ever encountered a juicy opportunity and you had to take a pass because you did not have what was required to take advantage of that opportunity? Or have you seen someone just take advantage of an opportunity that you've always had and seen, and you didn't even know that that thing was an opportunity? Or have you ever been caught flat-footed by something you could have prepared for? Now, let me give you some PTSD. Can you think back to school days when the exam timetable comes out and they said it's in 2 weeks, and you said, "Oh my God, there is still so much to cover. I wish I could have worked harder during the semester when there was no pressure." Or moving forward, do you want to make sure you never miss what God has prepared for you? And if any of that applies to you, then this is a topic for you. Now, the things that I'm going to be sharing are common knowledge, but what I want to aim to do is to provide a framework that is easy to remember and apply. And I want to give this practical framework that can help you prepare more effectively, efficiently, and consistently for both anticipated and unanticipated opportunities. But I would like to warn you that once I share this framework, you cannot unlearn it. You always see it in everywhere you look. So, but to start with, I would like to share with you 3 stories. The first is my story. And so one morning, July of 2012, I got a phone call from one of my friends from medical school. So now we had graduated medical school for like 3 years. We were out there, and I hadn't heard from this guy for the 3 years. Then he called me and told me of a federal government scholarship that he knew.
Sorry, Dr. Adeolu.
Yes.
Are you meant to be on slide 3? Do you want to click on slide 3?
Yes, I am on slide 3.
Maybe
no?
you click on it.
Okay, let's see. All right, I think. Can you see it?
Yes, very good.
Okay. Sorry, my animations that were supposed to work will just be all over the place, so that's okay. All right. So this guy called me because he learned of this scholarship that he knew I qualified for, but he knew he did not. So what the scholarship was it was aimed at sponsoring 100 of the brightest graduates from all disciplines in the country for for masters to PhD training in the top 25 universities in the world. And the scholarship was very generous. It would provide, full cost of the application, tuition, travel, stipends, all of that. Now, unlike other disciplines in medicine, we don't use first class and second class. We use distinctions. So, and for this scholarship, they require that you must have at least 2 distinctions. One of them must be in your preclinical years, those basic science that you do before you go to the hospital, and the other must be in the clinical years. So that's the criteria. And it just so happened that I had 2 distinctions in medical school, and they fell within those zones. And I was the only one in my class that had that. Not because my class was dull, but because at IFE it's very difficult to get distinctions. Now, this may sound like bragging, but I promise you, you will understand where I'm going with this. So Tunde called me a few days before the scholarship was going to close. So I had to narrow down my preparation, get my transcript. Then I bought a 50 naira book on current affairs and started rehearsing. I started practicing that because I sort of had an idea that that's what the aptitude test would be. So the aptitude test was set for us, and there are about 444 people that took that test. Now, something very significant happened a day before the aptitude test. I fell ill. I was purging, I was vomiting, I was very weak, and my thinking was foggy. I was about to lose this stuff that that I could get. And when I wrote my test, we got the results almost instantly after the test. My score was 61%. And I had some other guys around me that scored 80s and all that. So it wasn't looking good. But weeks later, I got another phone call, this time from my dad, that said, "Congratulations, you are one of the 100 people that got the scholarship." And I was like, interesting. How did that happen? And so when we went for the award ceremony, they told us something very interesting. They told us that they decided that it will not be enough to just use the aptitude test. So what they did was they went back to our WAEC results and attached weights to all our grades then and added that to the aptitude score test to decide the first 100, at which point they drew the cutoff. It's like secondary school, they went that back. I could never have anticipated that at that level, post-medical school training, that my WAEC result will still matter. Now, let me tell you two other stories that you are familiar with. And the other one is that of David and Goliath. I mean, you all know David from the Bible. He was the last child who was faithfully keeping sheep in the wilderness. He had no idea that God was preparing him for something greater. He was just faithful in what he was doing, was dedicated, and was fighting for his sheep. And then one day he went on the battlefield to give food to his brothers, and he heard Goliath. And he decided he was going to take Goliath on. So at that point, he narrowed down his preparation. He packaged a CV, quote and unquote, to convince Saul that he was qualified to fight Goliath. Okay. Now, the last story I will tell is the story of the 10 virgins in Matthew 25, 1 to 13. And I will actually read that from the Message Bible. God's kingdom is like 10 virgins who took oil lamps and went out to greet the bridegroom. 5 were silly and 5 were smart. The silly virgins took lamps, but no extra oil. The smart virgins took jars of oil to feed their lamps. The bridegroom didn't show up when they expected him, and they all fell asleep. In the middle of the night, someone yelled out, "He's here. The bridegroom is here. Get up and meet him." The 10 virgins, all of them, they got up and they all trimmed their lamps. The silly virgin said to the smart ones, "Our lamps are going out. Lend us some oil." And they answered, "Well, there might not be enough to go around, so go buy your own." They did, but while they were out buying oil, the bridegroom arrived. And when everyone who was there to greet him had gone into the wedding feast, the door was locked. Much later, the other virgins, the silly ones, they showed up and knocked on the door, saying, "Master, we're here. Let us in." And he answered, "Do I know you? I don't think I know you." Okay, if you look at this story, all of the 10 virgins had some things in common. All of them were virgins. All of them took their lamps on a mission to meet the bridegroom. The bridegroom was delayed for all of them. All of them became drowsy, and all of them slept off. When the midnight cry sounded, all of them got up, and importantly, all of them trimmed their lamps. Every single one trimmed their lamps. But this is where their paths began to diverge. Okay, we know that the 5 wise ones took extra oil and the silly ones did not take extra oil. Okay, when the 5 had no worries, when the bridegroom came, 5 had no worries because they had extra oil. But 5 began to see that their lamps were going out, and they realized that the delay of the bridegroom meant that their lamps would not last the night. So the 5 wise ones went into the bridegroom while the foolish ones went out to the dealers. That's what they should have done long ago when the wise ones were doing it. The door was open to the 5 wise ones, but the door was shut to the 5 foolish ones. So these 3 stories that I told, they have some common themes. I would have wished you saw my animations, would have loved it, but okay. So they have some things in common. So first of all is these stories, there was a time-limited opportunity that showed up, right? In my case, it was a scholarship that was almost going to close. In David's case, Goliath showed up. In the virgin's case, the bridegroom showed up. A time limited opportunity. But prior to that opportunity, there were two phases of preparation that showed up, or two phases of preparation that they had to go through. The first phase is the phase of broad preparation. This is the phase when the specifics and or the timing of the opportunity could not be predicted with any degree of certainty. Okay? I did not know, in 2001 when I was writing my WAEC or going through medical school afterwards, I did not know that there was going to be an FG scholarship in 2012. No idea. David had no idea that there would be a Goliath he could fight while he was keeping sheep. He was just being faithful, and that was how God was preparing him. The 10 virgins, they knew, that the bridegroom was coming. They were expecting the bridegroom, but they could not accurately tell the timing when the bridegroom would arrive. This first phase of preparation is the phase of broad preparation. Now, the second phase of preparation is the preparation mode that you transition into once a time-limited opportunity arises. In this phase, you now have to narrow down or tailor your preparation within an allotted time to harness the opportunity to meet the moment. For me, that was getting my transcript and buying a 15 current affairs book and studying it. Very much different than going through medical school and writing WAEC, right? For David, that phase of targeted preparation is packaging his wilderness experience and drawing parallels, okay, in order to convince Saul to be able to fight Goliath. For the 10 virgins, this phase, or the phase of targeted preparation, is trimming their lamps, right? So the 5 wise ones, when they trimmed their lamps, there was oil that the wick could burn on. The 5 foolish ones, they also trimmed their lamps, but, well, there was no oil. So, to reiterate that, there are 2 phases of preparation that I'm talking about today. The broad phase, where you cannot predict with any specificity the type or the timing of the opportunity, and then the targeted phase where the opportunity has showed up and you have to now tailor your preparation to that opportunity. Now, the rest of this talk is about how we can become more conscious of these 2 phases of preparation and how to optimize both of them, and importantly, how to smoothly transition between a phase of broad preparation to a phase of targeted preparation when an opportunity shows up. Now, I would like all to try something out. Okay. If you have, a piece of paper and a pencil there, or you can do this in your head too, I would like you to draw out a table with 3 columns. Okay. And the columns are broad preparation, targeted preparation, and opportunity. But I want you to start from the column of opportunity. Okay. I want you to write down or think about an opportunity you currently enjoy. That may be your work, your business, your family, anything, an opportunity that I currently enjoy. Now, when you write that, go to the middle column, okay, and write down just one way that you prepared when that opportunity showed up. That's your targeted preparation. And then when you are done with that, then go to the left and write one way of how you prepared and how God prepared you long before you even knew that specific opportunity would come. Let's take about 1 minute for that exercise, and I would ask someone that wants to share with us to just take 1 minute and tell us what they wrote in their columns. So we'll take just 1 minute. Okay, trying to see if I can reset this somewhere else and I can reshare my screen, but